Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, and I'm thrilled to have Mouser Electronics join us today to share their experience implementing a product information management system. I'm happy to see so many of you join us today, and in the next 30 to 40 minutes, we will focus on sharing some great nuggets that we believe will help you succeed in your PIM journey. Before we start, a little bit about Mouser. Say you are a manufacturer and want a Wi-Fi module for your next generation killer smartphone you are creating, which is going to revolutionize the world. Your design engineers turn to Mouser Electronics to find the exact module they need. So I'm delighted to have the best speakers who can explain how Mouser is able to manage that product information, enrich it, and make it available to anyone and everyone who visits their website so they can make the right choice. This is also a special webinar because Mouser's unique approach and the high-scale nature of the implementation is one of a kind I have seen. We're going to share some very important best practices with you that will help you ensure your team learns from the approaches that Mouser took and also help you become successful a bit faster. A quick housekeeping, we get to the questions at the end of this webinar, but do post them as the questions come to your mind as we speak. There's going to be a great discussion unfolding, so I encourage you to share what you hear here on the social media of your choice. Specifically look for NextGen MDM and hashtag MouserPIM. Those are the two hashtags we're going to use today, and share your views. And we will also have some great announcements coming from Infoverity as well. So let's start with the introduction. I'm your host, Prash Chandramohan. I work here at Informatica as a product marketing manager focused on Informatica MDM. Some of you know me as MDM Geek on Twitter, and also many of you read my blog probably as mdmgeek.com. I've spent my entire career focused on MDM and PIM, and absolutely love sharing great success stories like this with everyone. With me today, I have Matt Wienke from Infoverity. Matt and his team have been exceptional partners for our Informatica as a company, and I'm thrilled to have him here. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Prash. Thanks. Great to be here.
Welcome, Matt. Can you give us a quick intro, Matt, to start with, and also tell us a little bit Infoverity? I know you were running a raffle today. I'm curious to learn about that as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Prash. So Infoverity's mission is to help our clients simplify their information and make it more useful and leverage it to make more money while improving the quality of people's lives. You know, information is becoming the currency of business in the 21st century, and we at Infoverity help clients in key industries seeking competitive advantage using information like Mouser Electronics, who we will meet today. We go to market through partnerships with leading information management technology companies such as Informatica, and we've been recognized by Informatica, as Prash mentioned, in a number of important ways to us, being an elite partner in 2016 and elected MDM Partner of the Year in various categories 3 times since 2011. We're based in the U.S. with headquarters in Ohio and offices in Spain and Russia. And our personnel are spread out all over the place, 15 states, 6 countries in North America and Europe. And with respect to the raffle here, Prash, you know, a lot of clients and prospective clients can either struggle with figuring out how to get started with a program like Hayne will describe, or have some specific needs and they're just looking for the right expertise at the right time. So we're offering this raffle for those that attend this webinar today as a means to try to broker that conversation. So this is something that we will invest in a couple days of free counsel, expenses paid by Infoverity. And we just ask those that are interested to complete a questionnaire and register for the raffle at the bit.ly link that you see on your screen there. And from those that are qualified, the winner will be chosen at random, and we'll follow up with you by Friday, the 27th of January.
That is great. So bit.ly/Infoverity is the URL. I will definitely add that to the notes section as well for everybody's benefit. But great. Thank you, Matt. I'm thrilled to have Hayne Shumate from Mouser Electronics join us today. Hayne is SVP of Internet Business at Mouser and is going to share a lot of valuable insights. Hayne, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Prash. It's really good to be here.
Great. Can you tell us a bit about you, Hayne, and start with that?
I'll give you just a little bit on me so we can get on to the more interesting stuff. I did leave college and start teaching in inner city schools through a program called Teach for America, and working for a nonprofit and being married back then was tough. So I left teaching and went straight into e-commerce in electronic component distribution. Built first website in 1995 for Sterling Electronics on a 486 attached to a mainframe, just in case anybody thinks that's funny, I do. And it's been pretty much all e-commerce and component electronics since then.
Mm-hmm. This is great. Good to know a bit more about you, Hayne. And we can keep it for a different day. Being married is a difficult thing. Now, I have learned so much about Mouser over last few meetings we had. But for our audience here, can you tell us a little bit more about Mouser, where you're located, what kind of business you run, and why having that rich product data is really critical for you?
Right, and that is the key piece. When we're talking about product data, it is everything to our business, and a couple of slides will tell you why. We are owned by Berkshire Hathaway. We're part of that family of companies that includes some other great companies like Geico and Fruit of the Loom and BNSF Railroad. We are one of the really small companies compared to those other giants in this family, but it is helpful for us because it allows us to really make long-term investments. We're not as tied to the market as a small publicly traded company would be, so this enables us to really look at the strategy for things like product data, which is so important to us.
Mm-hmm. So great to see some notable and respected names on the slide there. Now I want to learn a bit more. Tell me more.
So about us in particular, we are based in Mansfield, Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area, and because we're shipping semiconductors and small electronic components that are very light, we can service the entire planet from here. So we have about 1,600 employees, a massive warehouse down here in Texas. We are one of the biggest shippers out of the Fort Worth airport that there is. And we ship globally in usually about 2 days, sometimes 3 days. China takes a little bit longer because of their import restrictions, but we sell into hundreds of countries.
Mm-hmm. And I see your network is pretty much across the world.
Right. We have service and support offices in all of these countries that you see. And that's key to us. We don't have outbound sales. People find us through our website. A long time ago, they found us through a print catalog, but now they find us through the website. So it's important that we be able to help them in their language and in their region. So, we used to print catalogs in 4 languages, I think, and we're not doing that anymore. But I'll tell you a little bit about the website because that's where we're really getting that global feel.
Yeah, we definitely moved away from that print catalog business, haven't we? So,
right.
You mentioned a lot about website. I know that's one of the key part of Mouser's business is having that presence on the website. So that's Mouser.com, I think, right?
It's actually 64 country-specific websites. So the primary URL is Mouser.com, but we also do business in Mouser.de, Mouser.jp, all the different country websites around the world. I think we're actually up to 17 languages now. 27 currencies, a lot of different strange transactions, Alipay, UnionPay in China, all of that kind of stuff. Most of our customers find us through the website. They may check out on the website. They may call in if they have questions and check out. So, sales dollars-wise, it's a little bit more than half is coming through the website. And we have to keep very fast page load times in order to be consumed by all of the search indexes. So bots hit us hard all the time, people trying to come get our information, whether it's good bots or bad bots, and I'll show you a little bit about that. But if you count up all the users that hit us every day and how many minutes they spend on the website, it comes out to 20,000 hours a day that our customers spend on our website looking at product data, and about 19 or 20 million products viewed per day.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on internet, but 20,000 plus hours a day. Wow, that's crazy. Wow. Tell us a little bit more.
So if you look at our website and what makes up the pages on the website, it's more than 95% of the pages are either a product detail page or some group of products. So this goes to how important product data is to us. There are a lot of products in our industry. We are currently in our PIM tracking more than 20 million products. We can't sell all of those. Some of those things became obsolete 10 years ago. But if somebody goes onto our website and puts in an obsolete part, we need to be able to tell them, yeah, you found it. We know what it is. You can't have it, but here's the part you can have. Consequently, we have to track an awful lot of data on products that we can't even sell. We can actually sell more like 6 million, 7 million parts, but on the website, you've got a full 22 million parts.
Yeah, having that historical information, right? So you can go back and see what that product was, maybe 5 years ago. So that makes it a lot of difference. So a large electronic company with global reach is what I'm hearing, and 60 plus localized websites, and those numbers you shared in terms of transactions per day is pretty astonishing for me. So I'm curious now to kind of know what goes into managing that data, and most importantly, keeping it up to date. I mean, you're talking about 20 million products, right? So can you tell us how important it is to have that product data for Mouser, and then maybe a little bit elaborate on the role that product data plays for you?
So we have a team. We have a couple of dozen people that spend all their time every day updating and inserting product data. And all of that data, all of those changes generally make it to the website the following day. And we do that because most of our customers do come to us through search, either organic search or paid search. And we have to get all of that product data indexed into the search engines. Currently, we have more than 100 million pages indexed into the search engines. So that's all of these millions of products, but then a different page for each language, different pages for different currencies for all of these websites around the world. And if we didn't have that product data, and if we couldn't publish it effectively to the search engines, we wouldn't have any customers. That's really what our business has evolved into. So it's very critical for us. And a lot of people are interested in our data, not just people, but machine people. If you take a look at how hard we've been hit, and this is just in the last 30 days, we got almost 800 million page views, and the majority of those are not even from breathing human beings. We've got good bots. So that's Bing and Baidu and Yahoo and Google and all of those guys. That's more than half of the traffic on the website because we've got so many millions of products and so many languages. And then you've got competitors and brokers and other companies that are trying to take all of our data, whether that's against our will or not. And we call those bad bots. We have to look at that traffic and slow it down and pay attention to it. But all of that is just so that we can have the humans on there that can actually afford to pay for something.
So 100 million index pages, I think I saw in the previous slide, and then 75% of the people come to your website through organic search. These are the people like me searching for product on Google and Bing to get to your website, right?
Right.
Wow.
At this point, even Google just by itself is pulling often as many as 200 pages a second from our website, and that's going to be almost entirely product data. We do have a marketing team that puts out a lot of really rich content, and really helps the human engineers determine what products they might need. But like I said, 95% of the website is just product data, so that customers can find the product and know it's the right one.
And certainly there are bots out there, isn't it? So I didn't know, however, there are good bots and bad bots. Learned something cool today.
Good.
So folks on the line, I'm hoping you're enjoying this conversation. If you feel you learned something, do share that on Twitter. Ask questions on the Bright Talk questions so we can get that to you at the later part of this webinar. So let's move on to the next section, Hayne. I know you had a few attempts to getting good at managing this product data. Can you tell us a little bit more about the journey, how it looked like, and where you started and where you are today?
Definitely a saga. Certainly a journey, but definitely a saga. It's been long and hard. There just aren't that many companies out there with a product set like we've got. And we've been a customer. We've been on a platform called Full Tilt for more than 10 years. I think it's safe to say, no discredit to them, that product was never designed to have the amount of attributed data that we have. And consequently, it served us well for a long time, but most of the really great features of that product we couldn't even use. Because under the strains of that size of database, trying to do version control and trying to do workflows and things like that, we really gave up on. We tried to manage it for a while, and then about 4 years ago, we tried to replace it with a more current software package from a stronger vendor, and we had a failed project. And I think it was, largely our part, the problems. We were trying to do it pretty quickly. We trusted the vendor, and they said they could do it in about 6 months, and we thought maybe that could happen. But at the same time, in that particular year, we were growing at almost 30% as a company. And we couldn't really devote the resources inside the company to make sure that it was going to be good. We had to rely 100% on this other company. And tackling a data structure the size of ours without enough help from inside the company, I think meant that the project was ultimately doomed. So we abandoned that project, and pretty soon we were starting to look again. A couple of years later, after the company stopped growing at such a ridiculous pace, we knew that we had to address this issue, and we started looking around again.
So on one side, you have a fast-growing business, on the other side, a tool which doesn't scale and provide the agility you need or the business need for you to be able to manage that information. As a serious business, right, and lots of ups and downs I see here, you must be loving your job, Hayne. Going through these kind of phases. So I've been in those places as I was working as a consultant. I have failed miserably in many projects too. I think that's what brings in that as the next time when you approach these projects, you're just being a little bit more careful, a little bit more better. I think that's all this session is about, teaching others how they can get better from your learning.
If folks can learn from the struggles that we've had, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what is going on in your mind? So tell us a little bit about having that multiple, 10-year-long implementations and still not being able to get to where you want it to be. I'm pretty sure from a selection point of view, now that you went through the route you're going now, from a selection process, I'm curious what that selection process looked like, having had that experience.
Right. We started off looking for a couple of different things. I mean, we were looking for something that we knew could handle the amount of data that we had. I mean, that was the number one thing is there's no point in looking at fancy features on products if we think that our 20 million products are going to break them. So that was one of the first things we were really looking at. And Informatica has the history with the ETL leadership and the heavy database work that they've done for the last couple of decades. That gave us a good feeling that the company would have products that could scale the way we needed them to. And also in our talks directly with Informatica, we learned what that commitment was, and we were assured that no matter how ugly things got when we loaded up all our data, they were going to be there for us. Number two was data quality. There was actually a separate effort going on looking for data quality tools when we started the search for PIM. And it became pretty clear as we started talking to Informatica that really we should be looking at one provider for both of these areas. You can see some of the rest of the things that we were looking for, but really it was scalability and data quality that were 1 and 2. We want to be the best in our industry with this product data set, and we wanted to make sure that we were picking the right partners and tools to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. So let's bring in Matt as well to see his perspective. Matt, you have been in the MDM and PIM space for a long time and worked with many customers, helped them complete their implementation successfully. Can you share some of the insights on what you have observed when it comes to selection process?
Yeah, certainly, and I'll layer it with context from Hayne's experience and our experience learning how they made their selection and what made it unique. Where most organizations that we've partnered with set their deadlines for a project such as this before really seriously considering or selecting their technology platform and evaluating that implementation time frame. I think Mauser's situation was quite different, where, as Hayne had explained, there were 2 prior attempts in the rearview mirror to implement PIM. Their commitment to implementing PIM, I think, mirrors a lot of organizations in the wholesale distribution industry that have pivoted away from competing on product variety or price and really realizing and embracing the fact that they're selling information as much as they're moving product. And as a result of that, they kept coming back to PIM and the capabilities that it offers to the business. But they were convinced that they had to engage differently in order to achieve different results. There were really 2 different aspects to this program that make it unique and noteworthy. First and foremost, where a lot of clients are looking to outsource a lot of the effort, Mauser chose to pay for expertise and not labor, meaning Hayne and his team had a less is more attitude, which Infoverity, for one, embraces because it meant a greater commitment of time and effort from the experts within the Mauser organization. And then secondly, their evaluation time frame wasn't sandwiched into the time that remained with a deadline-driven program, but the evaluation time frame itself was mutually determined by Infoverity's input, by Informatica's input, to make sure that it accomplished what it set out to do. And as scalability was such a critical decision-making criteria for the Mauser team, that's really where that evaluation focused. So, I think where most clients decide when they want that solution implemented by, Mauser engaged in a short analysis and then a series of small projects that helped them get satisfaction that A, the project and the solution could scale, B, it would be embraced by the intended end users, and C, that it could be implemented successfully in their environment.
Yeah, this is great. Start small and grow fast. That should be the mantra in my view. So this is great. Hey, during our discussion earlier, we talked about why it was critical for Mauser to get this initiative done in the right way. I know this was a bit of a lengthy selection process, but you chose Informatica and you chose Infoverity to partner with you on this journey. So I'm sure the audience will love hearing why this was a good combination. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Just as we were looking for specific things out of the product, like scalability and data quality, we needed, I think, a particular partner in this case because we had been through these implementations that hadn't worked, and we knew that we were going to have to devote a lot of our own resources and our own expertise with this particular product set to make it work with anybody's tool, and we needed to make sure that our partner was prepared to work with us in that way. I think the most common approach that you would see from vendors is we'll do all the work and here's what it's going to cost. And we came up with something really, really different, which was, as Matt mentioned, we wanted to really pay for the stuff that we didn't know. We needed that expertise on board, and we knew there was a bunch of stuff that we didn't know about putting all this product into a new solution. But at the same time, we wanted our people to be doing most of the heavy lifting all the way through so that when we got to the end, it would be really the right solution for us and that we would know everything about it. We want our own people to be able to be creative with this solution going forward and to be able to come to me and say, we've had this problem for years, we figured out how to fix it, we're going to use the tools within the Informatica solution. And they would not be able to do that if we paid somebody else to do all of our thinking for us. We needed that experience with these different tools, and we needed Infoverity's help to teach us a lot of the capabilities of these tools so that we can now be creative in our solution finding and really exploiting the tools to the best of our ability in the years to come. And Infoverity was willing to do that with us. They were also, of course, highly recommended by Informatica. They were local at the time. There was a project in our town, so we got to spend a lot of time with Infoverity also, and all of that really helped cement that relationship.
Yeah, and what the best way to represent that with that image there. So Matt, you have an outside view into this perspective. I know I work for Informatica, but tell us a bit about why Informatica for product data. What you have seen as a key differentiator, which help these customers like Mauser, use the best technology in available there.
Yeah, I think two things that we've touched on already are the answer to your question, Prash. The first, the unique properties of scale at Mauser, I think, are noteworthy. There are over 50,000 products that are set up in a day, and Hayne, I think you said in some prior conversations over 4 million mass changes or updates in a day.
We usually average around 100,000 changes in a day, but if something happens like with a regulation change, we could have a day that's 4 or 5 million changes in one day, and the expectation be that all of those changes are represented on the website the following morning.
Yeah, that's pretty large scale there. Yeah, this is great. So Hayne, for the benefit of those who are considering implementing the Product 360 or PIM solution, can you describe what that implementation looked like for you? And I know you had to do some structural changes to your company as well, the staff changes and stuff like that. I was curious to learn a little bit about that.
We did. As part of us really maintaining our end of this deal and doing the heavy lifting that we committed to, I had to restructure my team. And I won't go into a whole lot of detail, but I took one director and took half of that person's responsibility away and gave it to one of the managers that was subordinate to that director. And I could do that because the manager was so strong and the director was so strong. And I pulled him away and said, look, for the next 2 years, you're going to be working on this, or the next year and a half, however long it takes, but this project has to be successful. And then I also changed some other teams and rearranged some responsibilities of some other directors so that they could be supportive of the project. But I was definitely able to go to the directors that work for me and say, this thing has to happen, it has to happen right, and I'm going to change some ownership of some different areas of the business to make sure that you guys can get the resources and the time that you need to make sure that it happens right. And in fact, at this point, we're in the midst of undoing that, right, because the project has been successful, and now I'm redirecting my management team again to put them on a permanent foothold because we've been in this special mode for quite a while now.
Yeah, it does take change. It does take shift in the way we do the business to get something this big done, isn't it? So I know, Hayne, you took a phased approach as well. We talked about starting small and growing fast and things like that. But I'm a little bit curious also what that phased approach looked like for you. Maybe you can shed some lights on that as well.
Sure. We decided early on that a big bang solution was too frightening to really even think about. You know, going to bed one night on one PIM and waking up the next day with 20 million products and another PIM was just something that we didn't think we could do. So you're seeing now what the initial setup was. We have the PIM, and then every night we handle all the web processing and preparing everything to be searched in a very high-speed method, and then we push that out to the web the next day. So we introduced Product 360. And we started, you know, after all the design and everything that we put into it, we started moving products over in bunches. So, you know, for 1 week, we had only 3,000 products in Product 360, and the rest of the 20 million were in the legacy. And then the next week, we moved, I think, 15,000. And then the next week, we moved, I think, 130,000 or something like that. But each week, we started moving different categories, more and more product in, until 6 or 7 weeks later, all of the product was in Product 360. And then we started the process of removing the legacy PIM from all of the different imports and exports, and that's pretty much where we are today. We're finalizing the last couple of jobs that need to be getting rid of, and within a few weeks we're going to be powering down the legacy PIM.
So starting small data at the point at once, and then kind of moving quickly to move that data as you get the new system up and running. That's a great approach. So that's basically the migration from that full tilt system you had, right? I think that's what you were mentioning. Okay.
It took quite a calendar to do it. I mean, we were really looking at a full calendar year, and that doesn't include some of the work that we did. I mean, we did kind of a proof of concept, tried to load all the products in without any features just to make sure everything worked right. And I don't think it includes everything that we're going to be doing after turning off the old PIM, but this is the core project. Just get the thing in and turn off the old PIM, and then we'll work on some of the great new features after that. Definitely a long timeline.
Yeah, definitely. So this is great information. Now that we know what went into the implementation, let's talk a little bit about where are you today, and from the work that has been done so far, what are the results you're seeing at Mouser?
Right. So where we are today, we've got all of the product in the new PIM, and all those daily operations are happening the way you would expect. We still have a couple of files coming in from different suppliers that are going through the old PIM. We haven't remapped them into the new PIM yet, so there's a couple of little dangling projects there that we're preparing to turn off and to complete. And so we're within weeks of having completed the first implementation and using all of the data quality tools as well. That's all done. There's still some extra add-ons that we're working on. We're going to be launching our first business process management workflows and things like that in the next couple of weeks. And then we have digital asset management to conquer. And frankly, I don't know when we're going to get that done. We got a lot going on.
Certainly. So it's not the end. It's still only the beginning, looks like, right?
Right.
This is wonderful. So maybe now we can kind of focus on the future roadmap, maybe now that we're kind of getting onto that side of the things. maybe share some insights on, I think, the business process management workflow you talked about. Maybe you can talk a little bit about where you're going with that.
Right.
I think that will be really valuable.
We do some unconventional things because of our business, where we get our product data and how fast we try to introduce that to the website. And in some cases, we'll learn from a supplier about a new product that they are launching in the coming weeks, and we'll want to get all that information in the system and out to the website in the same day. And some of those things really require multiple teams and business processes to do, and we determined it would be worth the investment to build all of that into our system. So Infoverity has helped us with that. The idea being, you guys pretty much build the first couple of workflows and show us how it's done, and then we'll build the next couple of workflows together, and then hopefully the next couple after that we'll build on our own. And that's kind of the way we are treating all elements of this project, is that we really want to have that mastery.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so critical. So, Matt, let's maybe bring in a little bit about Infoverity here again. You guys worked very closely with Mauser on this implementation. I would like to hear from you about a few things. First, what was your observation from this implementation? I know Infoverity has been one of our biggest partners over the years, and thank you for putting your dedicated effort in making these customers like Mauser successful in their journey. Can you share what framework and utilities and things like that you have in place that make these projects successful? And I'm really curious to know what that secret sauce is.
Well, I think firstly, Prash, it's just it's a great partnership with Informatica, and it's having very open and partner-driven conversations with folks like Hayne early on in the process. We're still trying to win the work at that point, but I think despite all the different interests in play during those conversations, to find an organization or multiple organizations that are willing to let their guard down and really put their best efforts towards being successful together is, the key and special sauce, if you will. But, with respect to some observations about this program, because it has been a program of multiple phases. It's been over a year's worth of effort. If I'm one of the attendees of this webinar, I might look at that time frame and pale a little bit, saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe it would take a year. But I wanted to put some context around what that really means, where for us normally a phase 1 PIM effort, we make every effort to keep them within a 3 to 5 month, maybe 4 to 6 month window of time. And, to contrast that with the timetable that you listened to Hayne present, Mauser's has been longer. However, because of the investments of his team's time, which he's described, the actual effort and therefore the actual costs of the Infoverity commitment and contribution has been about 50%. Some would argue it might be a little less than that 50% of a typical 3 to 5 month phase 1. So, I think the fact that Mauser had some prior struggles really elevated the importance of internal stakeholders, not just attending meetings, but really owning decisions and deeply understanding the impacts of those decisions and the design cycles of our iterations and prototypes. The cost, quality, and time equation, I think, really plays in here, where Hayne chose to own the cost and quality component. And the right consulting partner can execute quickly into high quality, but it's going to be more expensive if you have that partner do all of the heavy lifting. And Mauser chose an approach where Mauser invested more time. Hayne's leadership drove that, and they have achieved even higher rates of quality and acceptance, but at the expense of a little bit longer time frame. But that's been a wise trade-off, I think, for Mauser.
I think so too. And if I can interrupt for just a second, sorry, but I wanted to point out, that the calendar looks scary by itself. But in the early days, there were weeks, I guess, where we were booking hours with Informatica for maybe 2 full-time people and maybe 2 or 3 full-time people from Infoverity, when they were key strategic moments when we really needed everybody's expertise. But then in the middle of this really long project, there were some weeks where we were probably only booking one resource from Infoverity, and that was it, because those were the weeks where we were doing the heavy lifting. So, yeah, we definitely don't want to give the impression that we had 8 people on board for a year and a half, because we definitely didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Prash, I think, the other component to this that's noteworthy is the PIM FlexiFrame framework, which it's both use cases from over 70 of these PIM deployments that we've been responsible for that help guide scoping parameters and focus design and testing effort. But it's also the style in which we partner with our clients. And, to Hayne's point, Hayne, I think there were weeks where, we were not on site for many weeks at a time, and we're just consulting via phone, and our consultant was dialing in, through the VPN and managing less than full-time workload, but it was just enough to keep your team, managing through the work and on the schedule that was agreed upon.
Right. It's what we needed.
No, this is great. So cost, quality, and time equation, I love that. I totally love that. I'm glad you have those frameworks and things like that in place and helping these customers, succeed. So, Hayne, maybe switch back to you a little bit again. It all comes down to value we deliver to business, right? So, I'm measured on what I do, the things I do on a day-to-day basis, how it impacts the business we have today. It's all about business, right? So we have seen some great results you shared with us earlier. Can you talk a little bit about that as well, so the audience get to know what kind of ROI, what kind of achievement you did with this approach?
Sure. And it's funny when we talk about what we've got now that we didn't have before. It's a list of features of the Informatica product, right? Because our old PIM, even if the features were good, we couldn't use them because of the scale of the database, and consequently there's basic things that you would expect from a PIM that we didn't have. But almost more importantly than that, a lot of this wasn't even discussed. When I went to the CEO and said, this is the right direction for us, this is what we need to do, there is a basic understanding in our company that if we don't have quality product data, then we don't have a business at all. It is really what we are based upon. So we don't have to do a lot of arguing about, is it going to be really worth it to have better process controls? We knew we needed really a top-end solution. That's what we shopped for. That's what we bought. But now we have all of this stuff that we didn't have before. And it's on the screen, the reporting capability. We can audit how well we're doing. We can set goals for ourselves and understand how complete our data is and how fast it's improving. We gained almost accidentally because while during this project we started adding resources in some of our other global sites, and this tool works much better with an international community. It's much more easy to use and easy to learn than our past tool. So that's going to enable us to have a global team that is going to be enriching this data all the time. So, just clear advances above anything that we've had before, because even the basic capabilities of those tools we weren't able to use.
Sure. And finally, maybe in the interest of time, let's quickly get on some lessons that came out of it. What are some of the lessons you can share with the audience today, Hayne?
When we talked about this in preparing for this presentation, we wondered about whether it was really lessons learned or lessons validated. I think the greatest lessons that we learned in this saga of 10 years was what not to do, and we learned that one pretty good. So we thought we knew what we wanted to do with this project, which was really paying for the expertise, but doing the heavy lifting ourselves and some kind of a variant of that. And I think we were validated. I think it was the right thing for our company and our time. I know that if we had tried the same approach in 2008, before I had built the management team here and before we were really so strong and able to move our team around for a project like this, I'm not sure we would have been as successful. So, I don't know whether everybody can do what we did, because we were in a position to where we could go to these resources and say, we're going to do the heavy lifting and I need you guys to be accountable for this, and they were able to do it. It takes a strong team, I think, to take the approach that we took, but it's the Berkshire Hathaway long-term investment. We want to be able to really own this product and be able to get everything out of this product, and to own the partnership with Infoverity and be able to call on them in the future if we need their expertise again. And I think that was validated by what we did.
Yeah, that's great. That the lessons that were learned and also validated. There you go, folks. That's more than what you can expect, I think. So very cool. I do believe it comes down to having right people on the team, and I'm happy you mentioned that, Hayne. I have myself experienced this. Having the right people on the team is really critical as well, not just the partner, not just the tool. It also comes down to the people. So, gentlemen, it was a pleasure having you here and share those great insights. What we'll do next is to kind of open up questions. I see already a few questions coming up in the line. And in the interest of time, maybe we will focus on 2-3 questions today, and I'm going to pick the right question here. Just focus on maybe top 3 questions which pop up. What's the best practice? So there's a question, Hayne, here on what are the best practices you recommend for the audience here who are in the same journey as you are implementing a product 360 solution.
It's difficult not knowing what everybody else's solution is. I know that the last company that I worked for before this one only had 26,000 products. And, we probably would have run this project differently if we hadn't had such concerns about scalability and so forth. But I do think the amount of time that we spent in planning, and we were, I have to say, I was probably at first shocked when Infoverity said you really need to spend this much time in planning this solution. That seemed like too much to me, and I was absolutely wrong. And we learned a lot about how we needed to structure our data, and being able to, once you pick those providers, being able to trust them with that expertise and listen to them, I think is key. It's very easy to say my company is different from everybody else's, and we're weird, and we're not going to listen to you. That's just too easy to do. And I think it was really helpful for us that we didn't do that.
Yeah.
Prash, if I can, Prash, if I can interject for a moment. Yeah, I think one of the elements that led to that planning horizon that Hayne mentioned was the amount of time that we were recommending investigating the existing data quality of the product information. And, that's so important. It's certainly one of my recommendations for a best practice because performing that data quality work involves a business, and it's oxygen to them to provide context. And the lack of context is the enemy of these programs, where you have business people that are engaged, not quite clear on the impacts of the decisions they're making or how their job may change for the better or for the worse based upon simple design inputs that are provided by them early on in the program. And it's so critical to prototype. Whether that's leveraging something that you learn from an existing data quality outcome, prototyping some business rules employed in data quality in order to influence, enrich the data, and then prototype the additional activities of a data steward in the PIM solution, for instance. Those were all investments of time through different iterations that I think really influenced the end user's real ownership and therefore the ultimate success of the PIM solution for Mouser Electronics.
If I can add, I think one thing that was a little odd about what we did, my group is the Internet Business Group. We have a responsibility for the website, and we have a bunch of technology resources, but we are not the Information Systems Department at Mouser. That's a separate department. And while we were doing this implementation, and that department, which is a really strong department, was also implementing probably 3 other systems that were on the scale of this project. And we certainly got an advantage, I think, out of being able, as the primary customer, as the business, owning this project directly and only owning this major implementation as a single implementation at a time. It was definitely an advantage for us. It really allowed us to concentrate on it and make sure it was resource right.
Definitely. So let's quickly move on to the next question here, which is about what are the biggest challenges you face in these projects? I thought I will probably give this to Matt to take a dig at. Matt, you think you can?
Yeah, Prash, I think I'd have to just echo some of my earlier comments that, the biggest challenge in many respects is just does the business understand the consequences of decisions that a program like this is asking them to make. Do they understand the business process that precedes them and follows their work? Those are all essential inputs to participating in what really is a horizontal information lifecycle business process refactoring that is a PIM project like this. And it really benefits the program to have people who are the most senior, that have the most gray hairs from different scavenger hunt type of issue management experiences all through their career prior to being involved in the program. And unfortunately, those people are also very valuable to a lot of other people in the business, or from senior executives all the way down to shipping clerks. And so they're really costly to dedicate to a program. But to Mauser's credit, I think they realized the necessity of having those people involved, and those people were willing to not just be involved, but really be owners of much of the work itself. And those are constant challenges that organizations, I'm sympathetic to their situation. It's just very difficult to allocate those high-value resources to a program such as this.
Sure. Definitely. We talked about the importance of the people, I think, and also having those right people lead these efforts. So maybe in the interest of time, we'll take one more last question, and I think then we'll wrap up. So maybe to Hayne, this question, Hayne, if you can answer, how was Informatica to partner with, and why would you recommend them for other companies?
They've been a great partner, and it's kind of funny. One of the challenges we have, because we've had such struggles on the past projects in this area, we had to be assured that we had chosen correctly this time. And I got there first because I spent the most time with Informatica, and I was prepared to move forward. And I still had skeptics in our senior management team who, really wanted to do a proof of concept, wanted to make sure that the technology was going to be good because of our struggles in the past. And at that point, we went ahead with a proof of concept, but I was pretty sure that we really didn't need it, that I had met the people at Informatica that were the holders of the keys of performance and were making assurances that they would be there for us, and I believed them, and I liked what I was hearing from Infoverity, and I was really pretty sure we had the right team even before we were able to pull the full trigger on it. Since then, everything's been great. We have not had to go back to Informatica and say, it's not fast enough, it's not performing, we've loaded it up and we're struggling. There were a couple of times where certain procedures we had to look at twice because probably nobody had ever run 2 million records through that before at one time. And Informatica was there, and we worked together and did whatever we had to reconfigure things to make sure that it was going to run correctly. So both partners have been tremendous for us all the way through this project. I really don't think I have any complaints at all. I guess it would be great, if the Informatica and Infoverity headquarters were in Mansfield, Texas, but I really can't ask for that.
Yeah, that's
it is January.
Well, let's see if that happens.
It's easier to convince us, Hayne, in the middle of the wintertime.
Yep.
Maybe, Hayne, you can relocate to Redwood City in beautiful Silicon Valley.
I don't think we're moving our warehouse. I think it's here.
That's great. So I do have some questions here, but in the interest of time, I think we'll wrap it up today. And one of the things I can do is to get back to you personally with Hayne and Matt's input on these questions, and then provide you the best answer we can. And probably one of the other things I can do also is write a simple blog about it, so everyone can gain from that knowledge. So there are a few ways you can get in touch with all of us here. You can definitely email me directly, pchandra@informatica.com. You can also tweet me at MDMGeek. I know Matt is on email addresses here as well. So hit us up if you have any specific questions. There's also a LinkedIn group which you can join. Informatica MDM LinkedIn group is one of the fastest growing MDM community on LinkedIn. So I've added you a direct link to the community in the attachment section of this webinar. So do join that group. But I would like to take a minute here and thank our speakers. Hayne, you've been amazing, and Matt, thanks for bringing all these great insights, which are really, really critical for folks who are going to take on this journey. So with that, our webinar comes to end. And thanks for joining. I appreciate your, if you can leave a rating on this webinar, there's an option to do that. And also, if you have any comments, do provide them. That will help us do an even better job in the next time. So thank you so much for joining us today. Hayne, Matt, thank you.
It's been great being with you.
Thank you, Prash.